everyone, welcome to LexTalk World Talk Show presented by ClickAway Creators. Today we have Barrister Mian Belal Ahmad with us. Bilal Ahmad is a third generation legal practitioner of his family by profession. Bilal was one of the youngest barristers to be called to the Bar of England and Wales by the Honourable Society of Lincolns in London, UK. In 2019, at the age of 30, Bilal went on to become one of the youngest advocates of the Honourable Supreme Court in the history of Pakistan. That's absolutely amazing. Also, with a significant number of reported judgments to his credit. Bilal has consistently been recognized by the legal directories as one of the leading advocates in commercial litigation, international arbitration, banking, administrative, and constitutional law. He is presently the managing partner of Mian Nisar Ahmad & Co., a premier law set established in 1956 by his late grandfather, Mr. Justice Mian Nisar Ahmad. He has a beautiful wife, Hina, and two gorgeous daughters, Amelia and Zaria. Without any further ado, let me just dive deeper into how his journey as a legal professional has been. Hello, Ahmed. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you, Bharti?
I am absolutely amazing. It's a pleasure to have you on board, and I really want to know about your journey as a legal professional. Because as a third generation lawyer, I'm sure you have a lot to share with us.
Yes, well, Oliver Wendell Holmes said, but the life of the law is not logic, but experience. And my journey it's been a good one thus far. I mean, there have been highs, there have been lows, but as a third generation legal practitioner, I had a lot. I had the uh, weight of the world on my shoulders. I had to continue with the legacy, which my late grandfather had sort of developed over time. My paternal uncle has been the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Pakistan. And again, a lot of weight on my young shoulders to ensure that all that I do is in accordance and in consonance with professional etiquette, mannerism, and the code. Uh, I started off in 2010 at Mian Nisar Ahmad & Co. I worked for a year and a half with my grandfather before he passed away. And it was a wonderful experience. It was a very enriching, a very versatile, a very multifaceted experience that I had with him. He was very old, but he'd come to office. He'd actually look forward to coming to office because I would come to office and he'd expect me to be there and afford me with tutelage and, all the processes. Uh, I started off with hardcore civil litigation practice. My grandfather had uh, a lot of property, land-related issues, but then we slowly shifted from the civil side to commercial litigation and international commercial arbitration. And I've been appearing before the high courts at Lahore, Islamabad, and Karachi on a very frequent basis. And my reported judgments are an aging testament to that fact, to the recognition afforded with much humility by the judicial actors of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. And the journey has been a good one. I mean, my heart bleeds with content. There's a long way to go, but I'm still very happy, and I'm content with the little that I've achieved in this short span of time. I am the youngest advocate of the Supreme Court in the history of Pakistan, and I have 3 reported judgments already by the Honourable Supreme Court in constitutional matters. So I'm content, and I couldn't indicate more gratitude.
Thank you so much, Bilal, for throwing light on your journey as a legal professional. And as we say that law is just not a profession, but a passion that you actually pursue.
Yeah.
So, having said that, you get it from the family too. from your, late great grandfather, and now you're a third generation lawyer. And I really hope there's more to achieve. And you're just being really modest by saying that you have achieved really little. But moving on, we would really love to know any complex issues if you have worked on, like any complex transaction, and if you're comfortable sharing the complexities of the matter, at the same time, how did you supersede them?
Yes, of course. There are a number of cases that I've been working on, but the one case which sort of really uh, uh, was a little mind-boggling and a little bemusing was to do with the validity or the constitutionality of the Gas Infrastructure Development Cess Act of 2015. So the GIDC Act of 2015 was enacted for the construction of the Tapi pipeline, the Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India gas pipeline, as also the Iran-Pakistan pipeline. So the underlying enactment, the parent enactment whereby the cess was levied, had come into question by means of a legal constitutional onslaught before the Honourable Supreme Court of Pakistan. And we relied on a number of decisions from the Indian Supreme Court, which has a very well-developed jurisprudence, from the US Supreme Court and the UK Supreme Court. And we successfully persuaded the Honorable Supreme Court by a majority of 2-1 judges to uphold the constitutionality and the vires of the GIDC Act of 2015. Now, I was up against all the big shot lawyers in the country who are on the other side of the podium. And the underlying issue involved therein was whether a fee can be, whether one, the cess is in the nature of a tax or is it a fee? And two, whether a fee can be levied for future services. So if the benefit is not proximate, or if it is not immediate, or if there's no quid pro quo on an immediate basis, then can a fee be levied and imposed and collected for a future service? And the Supreme Court upheld the arguments and the line of arguments that we had adopted, and we prevailed. It had an impact of about 700 billion Pak rupees. And it has a global impact of about, the figures vary, but still it's to do with an entire Tapi pipeline, which concerns Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and India.
That's commendable what you did there, Bilal. And kudos to you, how you have actually managed to do this. Now, moving on to our next question, which kind of involves pandemic.
Yeah.
And you have already, like, we never could have thought of it, that virtual hearings can come into the picture, right? And you have seen with this pandemic, we have seen courts moving towards more remote proceedings. Just want to know, what are your views on this? Is this like a sustainable and a possible way to increase the access to justice?
I think the access to justice in all counterpart jurisdictions is one of the most fundamental rights. And it is also the basic, in countries in which there is a written constitution, it is the ground norm, and it is entrenched and engraved, and it's a constitutional guarantee. Now, with these remote proceedings and with the possibility or the potential of video link, I think access to justice has certainly increased. Initially in Pakistan, when the pandemic first came around, uh, uh, the judicial system did come to a forestone. And it took some time when it stabilized for the courts to realize that, yes, through Zoom conferences as well as through video link facilities, arguments can be heard and addressed, and decisions can be rendered, and documents can be shared instead of using a lot of paperwork. And so now in Pakistan, we have before the Supreme Court, in just a case that I did recently, we've had the facility of video link I was in Lahore, and from Lahore, I was arguing before the Honourable Supreme Court at Islamabad, before a full bench of 5-member judges. So now that concept is being embraced, and it's being enveloped into our jurisdiction, and it's started to become the norm. Even the high courts now have, you need to give a 2-day prior application, a prescient application to them to avail the service, but you can readily subscribe to it, and you can very easily conduct your arguments through that facility, which is commendable and laudable.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your views on this, Bilal. Moving on to the next question. Uh, how do you rate the current legal system drive towards encouraging the access to justice? And is there like a tangible movement in closing the justice gap, according to you?
Well, we had the 18th constitutional amendment passed a few years back in 2010, I believe. And the right to a fair trial and due process and access to justice became part of the chapter 2 fundamental rights in terms of the constitution, our constitution of 1973. Now, having said that, I mean, it just reminds me of a Charles Dickens Bleak House, but it's no longer that. The system is changing. We've got a lot of competent and very learned and very erudite judges sitting on the bench, and there is a severe backlog of cases, yes, but they're onto it, and they've increased the capacity of the number of judges who are sitting and in caucus. And they are trying to, with the facility of video link and through Zoom, they are trying to decrease the workload and increase access to justice so as to ensure that the common man does not have to wait for a very long time before a decision is rendered.
And when we are talking about this, what are, like, in this era of technology, what are the mostly common used tools for you?
Well, for research, I rely a lot on practical law. That's a database for transactional purposes. It's got guidance notes, and it's got practice directions, and so on and so forth. We use Westlaw, LexisNexis, JSTOR, and we're trying to subscribe to a critical access management a program or a system by the name of Secure Link, so that for our arbitrations before the London Court of International Arbitration, when we are sharing documents with a QC abroad or another legal practitioner or a solicitor, the documents can be secure. So it's about privacy and data management and data protection now in this modern global atomic age. So we're working towards that, and we're also exploring we've got an online library. My grandfather had maintained excuse me, had maintained registers with case law, engraved therein. So we've shifted that onto, an electronic database. So we have our own firm's case law now, and we can readily search and find case law and case notes therein. In Pakistan, there is also a website known as pakistanlawsite.com. That's another database which we have access to, and all the judgments can be downloaded therefrom. In addition to this, the website of the Islamabad High Court, as well as the website of the Honourable Supreme Court of Pakistan and the Lahore High Court, they all have now judgments which have recently been approved for reporting enlisted therein. So they're increasing access to that information, and they're giving full and frank disclosure of all the recent judgments which have been approved for reporting and are settling norm in terms of normative jurisprudence.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your views on this, Bilal. Just one thing, with an amazing amount of experience that you have in the legal profession,
Thank you.
uh, and having achieved so much, which obviously you will not agree to, being really modest there. Uh, how do you manage time basically? Like, how do you ensure that you're making the most of your time as a lawyer? Also, with technology coming into the picture, as you've already thrown light on the things that, it's very time saving. But how do you kind of manage everything?
What I, originally when I came into practice, I had this issue with delegating work. To be very full and frank, I would want to do it all by myself. I was very meticulous in that. Slight OCD, you'd say, perhaps somewhere. In
That's actually a trait of a perfectionist, if
Yes,
I
yes.
put that right.
So I had to overcome that, and I slowly and gradually I learned the art of delegating. So we've got a number of associates. So in time, like not say on a short notice, but well before time, I make it sure and I ensure that the work is delegated, and we've got a research team which is solely dedicated for research. Then we've got a drafting team solely dedicated for drafting. We've got a boardroom with the multimedia. So I vet the drafts finally on in my boardroom, uh, on the multimedia with a red ticker pen, and it's all vetted and done. So I try and do that. That saves me a lot of time because the draft is there. You can just reflect on it and look look upon it and ruminate thereupon. So and vet it, review it. So that's what we're doing really here in Pakistan. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing such amazing and great insights with us and with our audience, of course. It was lovely speaking with you. Sadly, we have come to an end of this amazing conversation, Bilal. But before I let you go, any advice for upcoming lawyers, the budding lawyers?
I think I've said this before. This is from T.S. Eliot, the love song of Alfred J. Prufrock. You should
Right.
know how to murder and create an argument. You should learn
Beautiful.
how to murder and create an argument, and there will be time, there will be time. So I'll end
Wow.
on that note.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
sharing
Bharti.
that.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
It was pleasure speaking with you. And for our viewers, if you like this chat with Mr. Bilal Ahmad, please like and share this video. And do not forget to subscribe to ClickAway Creators YouTube channel to appreciate what we do. And you have more coming from industry legal leaders like him. This is Bharti for LexTalk signing off. Take care. Bye bye.